Hi, I'm Katya.
And I'm Rin.
And we're here at Commonwealth Holistic Herbalism in Boston, Massachusetts.
And on the internet everywhere, thanks to the power of the podcast.
Woohoo!
For one more time in 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like everybody, we're wondering how your year has been. But you know, we're herby around here, so we're wondering what kind of herby year it has been for you.
Yeah.
Our listeners, our friends, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and I'm certainly not alone, because whenever I look at social media or newsletters or whatever, everybody is doing their like countdowns of the year or their journal prompts about how the year has been and like all that stuff. So I, whatever, it's a New Year's tradition. But as we go through all these, and as you're also seeing all these prompts, and thinking about how to be better and do more and whatever, and no. I think it's really good to look back and think about the progress that you've made specifically as an herbalist, because you have made progress. And you might be like, I don't really think I did very much this year, or I don't really know if I learned very much this year, or whatever, but I think you probably did. And so it's really good to just sit and think about those things and then give yourself credit for them.
Yeah. It's a really big subject. It's many subjects that all kind of mush together and get a label sort of smashed onto them. Mm-hmm. And it's something that you learn gradually, whether that's reading a few pages a day or doing some taste experiments each day or whatever, it takes time. And so like anything that occurs gradually, it's easy to miss your progress because each day is just a little bit forward, and so it doesn't feel like that much change. So a little bit of a look back can be helpful for you to see where you've been.
On one hand, that's actually great, because yes, this is a huge subject. It can be intimidating. Lots of students express intimidation about, how am I going to learn it all? I am whatever age I am. Do I have time to still learn it all? Like all these different things. And
yeah.
So on one hand, the fact that you are learning just a little bit every day, it removes all that intimidation. It's like, no, you don't have to learn it all in one moment. You just learn a little bit a day. But while it removes the intimidation, it also can obscure the sense of accomplishment, because you have to be intentional about recognizing your milestones and taking the time to say, wow, when you add up the little bit that I've been working each day, it actually comes out to a lot. But if you don't take the time to do that, to add up everything that you've done and look at it cumulatively, then you might be like, did I even do anything? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got some questions for you to ponder that will help you to realize these things about your own experience and work. And we're going to share our own answers to them also for comparison. But first, we want to just remind you, as always, that we're not doctors, we're herbalists and holistic health educators.
The ideas discussed in this podcast do not constitute medical advice. No state or federal authority licenses herbalists in the United States, so these discussions are for educational purposes only.
We want to remind you that good health doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. Good health doesn't exist as an objective standard. It's influenced by your own individual needs, experiences, and goals. So please keep in mind, we're not attempting to present a single dogmatic right way that you should adhere to, and if we say this was my favorite herb for the year, it doesn't have to be yours.
You could be like, oh, I really don't love that herb at all, and that would be completely valid. Yeah. Everybody's body is different. That's why it would be completely valid. So the things that we're talking about may or may not apply directly to you, but we hope that they'll give you some new ideas to think about further and some stuff to research and experiment with.
Yeah. Finding your way to better health is both your right and your own personal responsibility. That doesn't mean that you're alone on the journey, and it doesn't mean that you're to blame for your current state of health, but it does mean that the final decision when you're considering any course of action, whether that was discussed on the internet or prescribed by a physician, that's always your choice to make. Yeah. All right, so let's get into some ponderations about the year 2025.
Your Herbal.
Your Herbal.
Your Herbal
yes.
2025. Yeah.
So a good place to start here is, did you work with any new herbs this year, right? Was there an herb that you maybe it's not like 100% new. I think for us, They weren't, but it's like, well, I never really gave this one the credit or the attention that it might deserve. Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter how long you've been an herbalist. There will always be a list of these herbs that you just didn't get around to it yet. You just it just didn't click for you yet. So if you are thinking that at some point you're gonna achieve a state where you know all the herbs and you whatever, and there's no new herbs for you to work with, that's never gonna happen.
If you ever think that happened, then travel.
Yeah.
Then you'll be cured of the disillusion.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So for me this year, sassafras leaf has been a huge influence, new influence.
It's become a new favorite.
Yeah.
It's become one of the plants on the list, I should put X in there because then she'll like it more. Yeah.
True. Sassafras root has always been a favorite, or especially flavor-wise, something that I really, really enjoy. But I never really worked with the leaf. I honestly, for a long time, I probably didn't even think about the leaf. And I think that's super common. When we think about the herbs that we work with as roots, think about, have you ever considered working with golden seal leaf? Now, okay, golden seal is not a fantastic example because it's at risk, and so it's great to just not work with it at all if you can avoid it. But on the other hand, it's a perfect example because it's one that so many people know, and they know it as the root. And have you even ever thought about the leaf? It turns out that the leaf is very important and has different properties that are synergistic with the root. And so that is fascinating. And also not always true. I want to be clear. Yeah. Kava, for example, Solomon's seal, these are roots that we work with where it would not be safe to work with the leaf.
Yeah. But it remains a question. It remains something to learn about that particular herb. And sometimes you find something surprising, people work with ashwagandha leaf all the time.
Yeah.
In some countries, that's the primary part that they focus on,
Yeah, or angelica leaf,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so for this year, it was sassafras leaf, and wow, I love it. It tastes amazing. It is a moistening herb that feels good in my body. If you are listening and not watching, then you know that I am really, really a damp person. I'm on the damp side of the damp, dry, energetic spectrum. And so I don't usually like a lot of moistening herbs. Do not come at me with marshmallow root. Keep your slippery elm. I do not want them. But sassafras leaf is perfect.
When you take it on its own, it has the velvety, demulcent feeling to what you drink, but it has a touch of astringency as well.
It has, there's some kind of I'm not going to let this get out of control, don't worry. Yeah. And I find that very comforting. Even emotionally, I'm a person that cries really, really easy and at completely inopportune moments. I cannot tell you how many hours I have just taught through tears because something got me emotionally and I just started crying, and I'm we're just going to do this anyway because everybody please just ignore this. It's really not, this is not a great feature of my emotional anatomy. But sassafras is don't worry. We've got a little moisture. We're keeping it under control. Where it's all staying where it should be. It's not going to leak out in weird places. Don't worry. It feels great. And I think that kind of an herb is really important because the reality is that you can be a super damp person and still have areas of dryness in your body and still have dryness that needs to be attended to in your body. But you got to do that in a way that feels comfortable. And it's not really very practical to be I'm going to have some slippery elm and some uva ursi and put them together because that's actually, you should try that actually. It's not going to work very well. Yeah. So having an herb that has those constituents or those actions really in a balance is excellent, really comforting for a person who's already way out of balance on the damp side. Yeah. Plus, I tend to like really drying tea, and that's not very comfortable for Rin. So if I'm making the tea, when we make, like one of us makes the tea, whatever day, and we usually are like, do you have any requests? But whatever, one of us will make the tea. And so if I make the tea and I've got like all these astringents and like lymphatic draining herbs, like whatever, which is what I usually, like that's the tea that I want to make. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be so uncomfortable for him. So then I can put sassafras in there, and it's like that's going to make this tea much more comfortable for him without making it uncomfortable for me.
Yeah. It works out really well.
Yeah. All right, a couple others. Towards the ends of the year, betony and skullcap and vervain have really come to the foreground, and I wish that had happened much earlier in the year.
Yeah, you came to me one day and you were like, I need to have skullcap all the time for a while. It's like, okay, you bet, every day, here we go.
Yeah, I wish that had happened for me like in January of last year or before that even. Because I think that emotionally I would have been a lot more stable over the course of this year. But I feel like this year was a very like emotional roller coaster kind of a year. Not just like in the world, but also in myself. Like, yeah, perimenopause is a ride. And, I like a lot of thinking about things until you thought you couldn't think about them anymore, and then thinking about them some more, like wearing tracks in my brain about thoughts. And that's not healthy. It is not healthy to cycle through the same thoughts, especially when they are negative, over and over and over again. You got to do something to break that cycle. And it's not easy. Like if it were easy, then we'd never, work ourselves up.
Yeah, it's not automatic. A cup of skullcap tea also doesn't make it happen automatically either. Right. But having skullcap daily, having betony frequently, having 3 or 4 different vervain tinctures scattered around the house so you can grab one at an opportune moment and take that down, right? That helps.
It helps a lot.
It makes the work you're already doing easier.
Yeah. And it's, when you just say, I gotta stop thinking about this. This is killing me. I've got to stop doing this. Like that doesn't really, like just try it. It doesn't really work. And then you can try to distract yourself, but very quickly, it comes back. And meditation is normally a place I would turn to for this. And like, I have struggled with that so much this year. But all of this stuff that I'm talking about is attention. Like any time that you're like spinning, that's attention, and it's attention that you're winding up. And so all of these herbs are really relaxant, and specifically relaxing like in the head and in the upper neck. So that like I feel like that's a big part of why, like it's not like magical that they magically just like, we don't know why, but it just helps you stop ruminating. No, it's like that rumination is attention, and these are relaxant herbs, and that's where that action is coming from.
Yeah, as is often the case when you're working with herbs this way, part of what happens here is that the remedy, the tea, the tincture, whatever it is, it accumulates what's usually called placebo effect as you work with it, right? It accumulates that association of, I take this when I feel this way and it helps me. And the more you do it, the stronger that association gets, right?
We could call it Pavlovian effect.
Sure.
Because it's not exactly placebo. It is based on like an initial actual result.
Yeah.
But then just you're wearing the track of that result into you instead of wearing the track of the negative thing.
Yeah, this is friendly, this helps, this is what I take in the moment when I feel like this, and then I feel differently, and it kind of like all lines up for you, and then you move through it.
I take this and I have the expectation of relaxing a little, and I have that expectation because it has happened consistently in the past.
Right.
And so this expectation is reasonable, and then it happens, which confirms the expectation over and over and over again.
It's a virtuous cycle.
Right. So like the action starts to happen sooner. You know, the first time maybe you have to kind of wait, and you're like, well, that helped a little. And the second time it helps a little more. But like eventually it kicks in a lot faster because your body knows what's going to happen now. And that is like, you can use that for the power of good is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So the thing is, though, that really started like a couple of months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And there's this whole year. And I've been struggling with this myself, trying to think of like what herbs that I work with over the year, and I'm stuck in the past few months. Right? But you had a few others that were like stars, and they were like every day in the mix.
For a while, especially at the beginning of the year and like into the spring, I was having mugwort every day until I was like, you've got to be so sick of this. And it was always like mugwort, heather, pine, juniper, and like some goldenrod. Like it was always like some variation of that kind of blend, and like some orange peel.
Gin tea.
Yeah. It's like a flavor that I love, but also the mugwort in that particular blend is doing mental work, like emotional work. It is kind of like engaging your rational center, and like for me, my emotional center gets very out of balance. Like it is very easy for my emotions to get too big, for my rational mind to like bring back into balance, to like wind it back in. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, yeah, the Betony, the Skull Cap, the Vervain are about unwinding that bigness, but mugwort is kind of the opposite. It's about growing the rational side so that so that it can like, it's like, I'm trying to think of some cartoon where the hero gets bigger when there's trouble so that it can like overwhelm the trouble, like, I don't know, Voltron or something, maybe the Incredible Hulk.
Mugwort for when you need to Hulk out? I'm not sure about that, but
to rationally Hulk out.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so that mugwort in the first part of the year was really around like keeping me stable. But then, yeah, I was like, if I make gin tea one more time.
The thing is, it's a tough one to be like, I will post-preparation add my own demulcents to it. Like, there's a lot of blends you make where I'm like, I'm going to put some licorice slices in here, or I'm going to like, you know, add fennel or marshmallow infusion or something else to it. But gin tea plus marshmallow slime doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work at all. So, yeah, I haven't found a good option for that one yet.
Yeah. And then also this year, at the beginning of the year, I had mono, which, was cool, I guess, when I was in high school or college, whatever age I was when I got it the first time, and everybody was getting it, and it was like the trendy thing to do I guess. But it's not so cool to get mono when you're 51 years old. It's pretty dumb, actually.
Yeah, you didn't love it.
I did not love that at all. And I also think that was part of a bigger theme for me this year. When if you've had mono before, it can reactivate at any time. And there's a lot of intertwining between mono and MS, or Epstein-Barr and MS. And so, it was my time to explore those connections and to reactivate some of those aspects that stay in the body forever. Like Epstein-Barr virus stays in your body forever, even though, like, even after you get it under control, when you have the initial infection. And So yeah, that will come up as a theme many times throughout this year. I didn't like any of it.
Mono months.
Yeah, not any of it at all.
Not the best months.
But during that time, bone set was definitely my most frequent herb by frequency.
Tiny doses.
Not by dose. Yeah. Tiny doses, but very frequently, because that in my body specifically, that is a very helpful herb for getting that Epstein-Barr, I don't know, flare up or whatever. This was more than just a flare up, but to bring that back under control. And I would not necessarily say universally that would be true for all people who have chronic illnesses that tie back to Epstein-Barr, like MS or varying forms of ME/CFS or whatever. But it is one worth considering and looking at if that is a valid choice for your situation. For me, it definitely was very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So when I was thinking about this question of any herbs that I worked with this year, newly or renewedly or something like that, Grains of Paradise did come to mind. But that's more of a recent thing, though. And what happened was we ran out of dried ginger.
Yeah. Back when you had your cocktail bitters era, you were really into Grains of Paradise. That was when you got into Grains of Paradise the first time.
Yeah.
And then, you made so many batches of cocktail bitters. And then we had so many cocktail bitters. And you haven't really, we got to finish them all.
I got to use them up and make some new ones.
I feel like we're getting close. I feel like we're almost to the end of them, so it's just about time to think about making more. But that was a few years ago, and sort of the Grains of Paradise kind of
they were waiting.
They were waiting, yeah.
So this one, but if you don't know this one, it's Aphramomum melegueta, and it's sometimes called meleguet in some places. It has a few other names too. But it's a ginger family plant. And in this case, the commonest part to work with is actually the seeds, rather than the rhizome, something like that. So it's kind of fun, and it's what you'd expect from a ginger relative, between ginger and turmeric and galangal and all of that, you have this one, and it's carminative and warming and tasty and pungent and good. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of cardamom.
Right. Yeah, it's very, very similar. Cardamom is also in the family,
But different. But really similar. Also, in appearance, it looks quite similar to the cardamom, the seeds themselves.
Yeah. There was just a span of time where we kept failing to order, chopped dried ginger from the herb suppliers, and then didn't think to get fresh ginger at the store. Eventually, we figured it out, but it's all right, well, cardamom instead of ginger, because there's a lot of times when ginger's in the tea. There's a lot of tea blends that have at least a little bit of ginger mixed in there.
Yeah, especially in our house.
In our house, yeah. So cardamom, galangal, turmeric doesn't really work for you, but if it's just my tea, then I can throw some in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ginger family explorations have been pretty good.
I feel like that kind of goes along with the fact that we've had way more rooibos this year than in previous years. Mm-hmm. We had to reorder rooibos a few times this year. Yeah. We really had a rooibos kick, and goes great with Grains of Paradise, goes great with cardamom, ginger, sassafras leaf. Those two together, just rooibos and sassafras leaf, really great. Yeah. Really good.
So that's been fun to come to. I feel like this year, if we look back the whole span of it, one herb that we both drank a lot more of this year than previous years is Camellia sinensis, tea. The green / black / white / oolong / etc. tea plant has become much more common for both of us, and I have to say that this is all down to Rakasan.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Rakasan is a tea company, and they're phenomenal. It was started by a bunch of ex-Special Forces guys, and they have these skills, right? They have these skills where they can go to very dangerous places. And so they go into areas that are post-conflict or even active conflict, like the edges of active conflict, and build lasting relationships with farmers to grow tea because that stabilizes the region. And so in some places they are going intentionally, specifically, to places where the United States has been a driver of conflict or
other imperial powers.
Right, yeah, or a participant in the conflict or whatever. And so a lot of their tea comes from Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia, but also some comes from Egypt and like different places. I'm pretty sure there are some from Afghanistan as well. But just that they have these skills and they decided that what they want to do with them is help stabilize these regions. And I mean, on one hand, it's small. It's not like they're stabilizing a whole region. They're stabilizing a community, or whatever. But on the other hand, that impact ripples out. And so just like the impact of conflict ripples out over time and creates so much damage, it's cool that now they are forces of trying to ripple out like a healing and rebuilding kind of effect.
Yeah.
So we love buying tea from them.
We do. If you've listened to the pod for a while, you've heard us sing their praises before. I mean, the Earl Grey is amazing. The winter blends is what I have right here right now. Fantastic. Very nice, like, chai sort of influence sort of formula, but it's just, they're really good at this stuff.
They're really good, yeah.
Quality's amazing, stuff's organic, etc. Really happy with that. So, yeah, more black and green tea this year for certain.
Which, I mean, does also mean that we've been having a lot more caffeine this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's been okay. It's been okay. It has stayed in the early parts of the day for the most part. It has kind of stayed in balance. It hasn't gotten out of control.
Not too much.
So, yeah. We are both, I should caveat that, I suppose, we are both people who have a history of caffeine excess, maybe.
Yeah.
And both for a long time just avoided all caffeine entirely because of that. And I feel like yes, we have had black tea multiple times a week this whole year, but we have really been so much more balanced about our relationship with the caffeine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think so.
So that's pretty exciting.
I had a few others that came to mind when I was thinking about this idea of the last year and herbs, and like some of them are plants that I've worked with forever, and some in big quantity, like plantain. But I feel like this year I've been paying a lot more attention to it as a lung herb, as opposed to an enhancer of digestive tea blends, or of course a wound care herb or other things like that. But when you look at the research on Plantago, a lot of it is really focused on respiratory health and on like improving the function of the goblet cells that secrete mucus and keep that at the right consistency and everything. So I'll say a little more about breathing and related things later on, but I feel like of the herbs that I've been choosing when I'm like, let's take care of the lungs today, and of course mullein gets in there and lungwort, but I've been giving new priority to Plantago in those cases.
It's like that, I think, is a really good example because like this is not a new plant in any way. This is a plant that you have worked with like all of the time forever, but it's a new aspect of emphasis and like pushing the relationship in a different direction or in a new direction. And so many herbs, like in our minds or in our practice, we kind of like have them, oh, this is my herb for this purpose, like we put them in a box, when there's actually so much more that they could do. And so it's always really fun to look at an herb that you maybe work with a lot and then say, where else could I go with this? Like, what other directions are actually available to me here that I just have not explored yet?
Yeah. In the range of the lungs, I have been doing some work with black seed recently, and that's one that I had kind of been like, what's with this like fatty herb, this faddish, right? Like a fad. Why is it suddenly everywhere? Why is everybody in the functional medicine world trying to tell me that this is the best herb for all the problems? It's the new turmeric, okay?
Yeah.
And so that's been how I've been thinking about it for a while, and I still kind of mostly do, but at the same time, again, looking at some of the influences on lung health, and with black seed, there's like a ton of other systems and areas of the body that it seems to work well on. I was like, all right, fine, I'll give it a try. I'm placing an order from Gaia anyway. I'll pop that one on there. And so I've been taking them for a while now, and I got to say, one of the things that makes me like it a lot is that sometimes I get a little black seed burp. And it's just very like I drank a quart of thyme or oregano or monarda. Like it's in that range of aromatics that are coming up out of it. So maybe this isn't super appealing to you as I describe it that way, but I'm just saying it's something I noticed, and I'm like, this is actually making me believe that there's activity in here. Let's do it.
I think that's actually really important, because when you work with a seed, when you work with a capsule, it's sometimes that is the most efficient way to work with something. So I'm not knocking it. I take capsules most days, especially if you're busy or if you're not always home. Okay, that's not my excuse, but like like whatever. It can just be practical. So there's nothing wrong with it. But it's hard to know a plant that you're working with in a capsule because you're not tasting it, you're not smelling it, you are not coming into sensorial contact with the constituents. Mm-hmm. So you don't really have any data about the phytochemistry that's going on. Whereas if you take something as tea, you do. You have the flavors, and you may or may not be trained to make phytochemical conclusions about what you're tasting, but you could be. Mm-hmm. And so that is a thing that is accessible, that is removed when you take a capsule. But when you work with a seed, it's like in a little package. Okay, fennel maybe not so much. But if you think about like even caraway or cumin, they're not as intense until you start cooking them or start chewing them. They're kind of like in their protected little package. I'm not saying they don't have no smell. They're just protected in there, and their phytochemical constituents are protected inside the hull, the shell. And I feel for black seed, like on one end we have fennel, which is not very protected. Like fennel is like a really aromatic seed. But I feel like black seed is kind of at the other end, where if you just open a jar of black seed, I'm not saying there's no smell.
Yeah.
But it is really protected in its little shell. And so you might not, you might unless you eat them, that you didn't cook with it, you just are eating it itself and chewing them individually so that they're breaking open in your mouth, you might not realize the flavor and what that means about the phytochemistry of the plant, of the seed in this case.
Yeah, in this case, that pungency, the aromatic elements, we're thinking like movement, circulation, activation, that kind of thing.
So even though it's weird to be like, oh yeah, and then I burped after I took the, that's like a weird thing to say. Yeah. But also it's kind of an important thing to say, because that is that's a point of data. Don't discount that.
Yeah, totally. All right. A couple others real quick. I have been paying new attention to camphor this year. Topical applications, right? Camphor is a plant, okay? It's Cinnamomum camphora. It's in the cinnamon family. It's like the Lauraceae, okay, but it's closely related to cinnamon. It's a plant. It's not just some weird jar that your grandma had in the cabinet.
It's not just tiger balm.
Right? So, but of course it's a plant that people have paid a lot of attention to and work with because of the intensity of that aromaticity, that resin, that you can extract from there and work with. So in our house, this has just been like, I don't know, more irritated joints and knees and backs and hips and elbows and everything else.
We're getting old, Joe.
And yeah. So there's a really nice battle balm, it's called, that we work with. It's like a tiger balm kind of thing, but that's very camphoraceous. And then we've got a couple other preparations, some from Plum Dragon have some camphor in there. And then there's a couple of things I picked up from some herbalist friends of ours, just for applying to the joints, the wrist or whatever when they hurt. And yeah, it's really good stuff. It's really good and rubefacient, right? Moving blood around.
Yeah.
And then the last one for me, and this was a late entry because you picked this up just a little while ago, but it's mastic resin. Which is where we get the word mastication. And that's chewing, and that's what we've been doing with this. So you found this brand of like these very clean, perfect little resin droplets.
Yeah.
Like beautiful, right? And you can just kind of chew on them, and first they're hard, and so you have to like wait, and they warm and they soften, and then you can chew them like gum for just hours.
Yeah. And like there's a long history of chewing gum. Like
literal gums, plant gums.
Yeah, plant like resin gums.
Right.
And so like when I was whatever age in high school, I guess, it was like, stop chewing gum, take your gum out of your mouth, like because you're a teenager walking around smacking your gum, whatever. Plus that was, I don't know if the kids are so much about blowing bubbles these days with their gum, but that was the era of Hubba Bubba and Bubblicious, and like the big chunks of gum that then you would blow bubbles with. Child of the 80s, I don't know.
Yeah.
So my like relationship to chewing gum has always been like a really negative connotation, even when I liked it when I was young. But here it's like totally changing thoughts about chewing gum, because chewing the resin is how you're releasing the phytochemicals to actually get the medicinal action. So I am really excited about the oral activity of mastic gum. But then that happens the full length of the digestive tract.
Yeah, like you can feel your gums getting some astringency, like a little tighter. Your teeth are firmer in place,
It's
pretty good.
Yeah, and it has a lot of anti-inflammatory action, a lot of like reparative action for the membranes of the digestive tract. So yeah, it's really interesting to think about healthy gum, or
right.
And
for me, my attention has been on the jaw and the muscles in the jaw and the throat and the mouth, and the way that the chewing action maintains an open airway and an efficient airway and an efficient breathing process.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's actually very helpful, and people's transition to softer food that doesn't require very much chewing has been a long path, right? From like the development of agriculture on forward, basically.
Yeah.
But it's pretty extreme, and there are lots of people who probably developed sleep apnea and other difficulties with breathing efficiency in their late teens and their adult years because of just never really getting a jaw workout. Not chewing on resistant stuff and fibrous things for some amount of time every single day, the way our ancestors did. Mm-hmm. So this has been like feeding into or connected to some of the thoughts I've had around breathing and that kind of thing over the last year.
I think this is especially relevant if you were bottle fed when you were a baby, which both of us were. Because a lot of that jaw development happens during breastfeeding, and like, not to open a can of worms, because breastfeeding does not work for all people. Breastfeeding is not idyllic. It is an option. If you can't or choose not to breastfeed, that does not mean that your child will be broken forever. But it does mean that like the mechanism of sucking on the bottle does not have the same alignment and structure and muscle development as the mechanism of sucking on a breast. So we need to look for other mechanisms to help with that, and that is giving your kids lots of really hard stuff to chew on. Don't give a tiny kid gum because they could swallow it.
Yeah.
But like, give them hard carrots. Give them, like kids used to teeth on chicken bones, which, that's a little less practical these days because they're going to put it down in your living room somewhere. It's not going to be great.
Yeah, but like as a form of development, as necessary as walking, we got to develop the jaw, the mouth, all the structures and muscles in there. It matters.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here that was all. That was all question one about.
Sorry.
Did you work with any new herbs this year? So how about, did you find any new insights about your own health and how you can support yourself, or maybe how you can support other people around you?
Yeah. So for me, one thing this year that I have really kind of dialed in has been sleep. Cycles of not great sleep have been less not great than in the past, and shorter in duration. Sleep is something that I struggle with a lot. But this year I feel like I've really found ways to bring that under control, like new ways that are more dialed in for me. And I think this is a really important time to like have a word from our sponsor, which is that sleep is not effortless. It's not easy. It's not something that you do naturally. It's
not your brain turning off. It's totally not. It's like as far opposite from that as you can get.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if you are a person who struggles to sleep effectively, and you see somebody, maybe it is your spouse, who falls asleep the instant they hit the pillow, that's also not healthy. There's that's also disordered sleep actually. And so it might be very convenient for them, but it is not a ideal sleep pattern or whatever. Okay, you can see the quotes that I'm making there, right? Because, obviously this is a much larger topic. But in the past, I have really leaned hard into herbs to help me sleep, and that has helped tremendously. And this year, I have really been leaning much harder on sleep hygiene, which is boring and not exciting and really effective.
Everybody's favorite.
Yeah. So one is that I've developed an extremely consistent, we might even say rigidly consistent bedtime routine. But I also think that has played a critical role for me in having success. And Lynn has helped a lot with this. And again, a word from whatever sponsor it is that is sponsoring this segment here. In order to sleep well, your house has to be a culture of supporting sleep. And so whether it is you that struggles with sleep, your children that struggle to sleep, your whatever, you need your whole house to support your sleep. If you're just trying to do the sleep thing, but the rest of the house is not supportive in that cycle, like they're watching a loud movie, they're whatever, then it's not going to work. So that doesn't mean like everybody goes to sleep at exactly the same time. The house must be completely quiet. But it does mean that you have to like experiment and negotiate with what do we need to do to make sleep happen. Because it does not just happen by itself. You don't just get into bed and wait until you fall asleep and sit there quietly and like whatever. You do have to like construct it. So that is one. And like really building that whole bedtime routine has made me like that programming has really kicked in, even though it's not fun. I don't like it. And it took time. But now, even if I'm not tired, when it's time to go to bed, by the time I get through the little routine we have going on, I'm like, actually, I'm really tired, So that's good. The other, I think, well, maybe two other things that have been really big is that I have been intentionally spending more time outside early in the day to get more sunlight, even when it's cold. That's also not super fun, but I have absolutely been doing it, and it helps a ton. And it's funny because, we have a whole course about sleep, and these things are in there. And I have had bedtime routines in the past, but not as structured as I do now.
Right.
And I have had, I should get some sunlight today, but not as consistent as I do now. Like, it's really been the, super consistent, rigidly consistent, even though I'm not a fan of rigidity. In this case, it has been super helpful. And then the other thing that has been super helpful is my brick. And I don't mean like a building material here. Brick is a thing. It's if you work in an office and you have to beep a card to get access to to get a door to unlock, you know what I'm talking about? That magnetic thing that unlocks the door. Okay, brick is one of those. And it interacts with your phone. And so you set it up to say these apps are accessible on my phone and these apps are not accessible when my phone is bricked. Then you beep your phone on this little thing. It's a little magnet thing. We put it on our refrigerator. You can put it wherever you want. And there is no way to override it. So it's not like the Screen Time app or a whole bunch of other apps where you always can be like, do you want to override this? And you just click one button and then you can.
But not on like a countdown timer. Like, you cannot use any of those apps for the next 3 hours, period. It's, you have to stand up, you have to walk to the brick and touch it again.
Right.
And so that's not just the little inconvenience of getting up from wherever you happen to be sitting down or laying down if you're in bed or whatever, right? It's also the, I'm not just grabbing this and starting to scroll. It's, I am deciding to go over here and now I'm going to scroll for a while, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a process. It works really, really good. This is like the power, using the power of inertia for good. So wherever I am, if I'm like, I could just grab my phone, especially if I am in bed. I do take my phone to bed, partially because audiobooks are a big part of helping me stay asleep or helping me get back to sleep quickly without allowing my emotional cycle to start and to start worrying about things or whatever. So on one hand, the phone is very helpful for that because of the audiobook or sometimes a meditation. But on the other hand, it's right there with all the other things on it, and that is not helpful. So this really makes it such that, I can still have my audiobook. I can still send a text message if I really needed to or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, when I have mine set up, it's like the app for audiobooks, the app for meditations, the app for breath holding practices, the text files app.
Right. So
and the weather.
Right. Yeah. And the camera. But so if you need to write a note, you're not just like, I'll just open my email and send myself a message so I don't forget this. Oh, look, there's all these other emails in here. Oh, now I'm worrying about work. It's like, well, okay, if I really need to write something down, I can put it in a text file and I can get it out in the morning. It's not like I will forget the thing, but it's also not very exciting. So yeah. What happens is that you open your phone to turn on you woke up, you're agitated, you want to turn on the audiobook, you open your phone, you think, I'll just scroll for a minute before I put the story on. But you can't. Unless you get out of the bed, go down the stairs, and beep the thing on the refrigerator. And so you're just like, oh, well, there's nothing to do. So I guess I'll just put on my story and go back to sleep. I guess I'll just put on my meditation and go back to sleep. There is nothing to do. It is pretty amazing.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
And it's been improving your sleep.
It really has. It really, really has. And I leave my phone bricked all the time. unless I need, like, we post to social media. So if I am going to post something, I unbrick my phone, I post it, I re-brick my phone. Like, if my phone is not bricked, it's because I decided right in this moment I want to do something on my phone. So I will unbrick it, and as soon as I'm finished, I will re-brick it.
Yeah.
And so what that means is, when it's time to go to bed, there is no, I'll just scroll. I'm comfy on the couch. I'll just scroll for like 10 minutes. I'll just check the news before I go to bed. It's just not available. There's nothing to do. The only thing left to do is go to bed, so.
It works.
Yeah.
That's super handy.
I love it.
So in this question on new insights about your health and how you can support yourself or others, I have one for others, and you're the other. And it's around sleep, and it's rub the feet. That's
true. That has really made a big difference.
Because she goes to bed a little while before I do, or sometimes a longer while. But part of this whole bedtime routine is like tuck in the ladybird, right? So get you all situated, and the blankets are right, and you've got the drinking water and the humidifier water, and you're all good. And
we write in our journals.
We chat together
and then we share our journals with each other and like talk about our day and whatever. Yeah, like there's this whole little
and we cuddle and everything, and it's great. And then sometime in the last while, it was like, wait, before I go, I can like rub your knees a little bit because they've been hurting you, and I can rub your feet.
I think that's what started it, because my knee was bothering me, and I think that's how it started. And then, now you just do it every night to rub my feet, and it's like, by the time that's done, sometimes I don't even put the story on because I'm just like, wow, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And okay, listen, that is an extremely specific aspect, because like that only works if you have a household with split bedtimes. Like I am early to bed, not early to rise, but earlier to rise. And he is still of the belief that humans can be night owls. And doesn't love to go to bed early. So, but that's...
Maybe I'll work on that next year. Maybe not.
That's okay, y'all. Not everything has to be optimal the way a human should be to be healthy, like whatever.
Yeah.
And also this works really great for me because I get a foot massage every night.
That's pretty good.
But the thing is that, like, okay, you don't need to have a foot massage so that you can go to bed. But thinking through, like, what would support you getting to bed, and then what needs to change in your household routine or whatever else, like how we manage the lights, how we, like, all that kind of stuff.
But I mean, this also goes along with work that we've been doing together this year, which has also been work we've been doing together for 16 or however many years now. That we've been together, which is, like, how do we relate to each other? How do we take care of each other? How do we show love? And like earlier this year we were talking about, like, we need to be physically affectionate in the right ways for each of us to feel good, and like we got to give that some priority, and I think this is one expression of that,
Yeah.
So
it's normal in a relationship for needs not to be matched. That is completely normal. Some needs will be like very well aligned, and some needs will not be, because it's impossible to align every single thing in two people. And so looking at the places where you are not aligned and not trying to change them. Like, you don't need to become a different person. You just need to figure out, what do we do during those points of mismatch? Like, how do we handle that in a way that will support one another?
Yeah, and the whole kind of like tuck in the ladybird bedtime routine thing emerged out of that idea. This was years ago now, but it was just like, don't just like, okay, go to bed, good night, and now I'm leaving, but like, okay, let's like hang out for a while, let's like cuddle and decompress and like all of that kind of thing, and it makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been something pretty good recently.
And it's like, I don't need you to like go to sleep at the same time that I go to sleep to still receive that like connection time.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of articles on like social media things in the last while, I guess. I don't know if I'm paying more attention and looking for it. It's that like, phenomenon or whatever, but just like, it's terrible news if you and your spouse don't sleep in the same bed. It's the end of your relationship if you don't go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time and all of that. And like, I think people are getting a little ahead of themselves on that one, but like, it's also, it would be a problem if it was just like, oh yeah, you go to bed, bye. Like, that wouldn't be good either. And if that's what's happening, then yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? But
I mean, unless it's not a problem. Like, if that's what works for you because you get your connection time at different times of the day, that's also fine.
yeah.
But really investigating those things from the perspective of, like, my valid preferences do not align with your valid preferences in this aspect. And so how do we just address both of our preferences? Your preferences are not wrong just because they're not mine.
Right.
But, and like, this is just another facet of everybody is different. If everybody is different, and therefore people need different herbs, maybe for the same problem, the problem is not exactly the same, but it might look the same externally. Well, if that's true physiologically, then it is also true emotionally, psychologically, in terms of connection style, or like all those other things. And so if it's completely reasonable that I like astringent herbs and he likes moistening herbs, then it is also reasonable and valid that I like this thing and he likes that thing. And they don't need to change to accommodate one another.
Yeah.
And even if you're not married, this is still like a good set of things to think about, because humans exist in relationship. Like, it's not just like married relationships that we're talking about here. Like, we are all in relationship with our friends, with our families, with our communities, with whatever.
Right.
And this work needs to be bilateral or multilateral. Like, you can't just be the only one doing the work saying, your preferences are valid, how can I accommodate them? While the other person is like, I refuse to accommodate anything that you need. Like, okay, no, not that. But yeah.
I like that. Yeah. And I mean, you're my most important community. And this is kind of in that realm, right? We often talk about the 4 pillars, but it's really 5, right?
Right.
Food and sleep and movement and stress. And then the 5th pillar is community, right? And I feel like for me, thinking about, ways to support my health this year, some of those have been around community, like this way of being closer and better with you. But another one has been, I kind of reminded myself that it's good for me to go somewhere like once a week or so and do something that's like structured and organized and physical and educational. And so I'm so happy because I've been able to take taiko classes this year.
Yeah.
Taiko drumming, right? Like the Japanese style. It's really Japanese-American, actually, but we can get into that later.
If you want to nerd out about taiko. Yeah.
So yeah, I had to take a little break because some things happened, but I'm gonna go back to the group in January, and it's been really nice to go there, and it has like a familiar structure from martial arts days that I've done in the past, and that's just been really good for me on several levels.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling very good about that.
I think that taiko is really well suited to you too, because music is very important to you, but the way that you access music is through rhythm and not through melody. And like, that is true in every aspect of your relationship with music. And so I think this is like such a good match to, like, it's like the perfect herb, except it's taiko drumming. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to Mountain River Taiko. Y'all are fantastic, and I'm going to see you again soon.
Yay.
Another thing, which I guess more is like in the realm of, I don't know, mental health for me, has been another kind of a return, right? So when I was in college, I studied literature and I studied philosophy. And I've sublimated a lot of my interest in philosophy into herbalism over the years, because there's a ton of philosophy in it, actually, or several philosophies altogether. So, but I've been over this past year looking at some more strictly or like labeledly philosophical stuff. So a couple things I want to mention are, first off, it's currently listed as the history of philosophy in China if you go searching for it, but in the past...
Podcast.
Yeah. But in the past, it has been the history of Africana philosophy and then the history of philosophy in India, or maybe the other version around. But I first got into the middle of their thread, and I listened to the series on the history of Africana philosophy, which was really, really fascinating. Starts in like ancient Egypt and then proceeds all the way through there up to basically Black Lives Matter. So it's really, really cool stuff. And that made a big impression on me. Completed that sequence. I'm now digging into their history of philosophy in India stuff. But one of the episodes in the Africana series that caught my attention the most was one about this book called Black Marxism by Cedric J. Robinson. And I bought a copy of it, and then I also got myself the audiobook. And because I've been having a little easier time of like clocking the hours of reading if they're in my ears, you know?
Yeah, it is like, sometimes hard to make time to sit and read a book because, I should be working if I'm sitting. But like you can take a walk and listen to a podcast, and that's...
And sometimes our reading time is like decompression at the end of the day, and I just want some like light, entertaining, and slightly philosophical fiction.
Yeah.
Like the stuff Max Gladstone writes is right on the money. Or Cixin Liu, But anyway, so I've been digging into that book. The physical copy is handy because you can read the footnotes there.
Yeah.
Some of those are really good. But I was thinking about it, and this has also been kind of a longer project too, like getting some audiobooks that are like the physical copy is a couple hundred pages or like 500 pages. Like I listened to...
Or The Dawn of Everything, which is probably 1,000 pages.
Dawn of Everything, Behave from Sapolsky. So I feel like this has been really good for me to get my mind working in different ways and force me not to ruminate in the exact same sequence of thoughts.
Yeah, I think that among all things has been a huge theme over the past year in our health, is like redirecting brain energy away from rumination on upsetting things, and recognizing that like we control that. It's not always easy to control what you're thinking about, but distraction is a valid tool. And distract yourself with something important to you. Distract yourself with an area in which you want to grow. Distract yourself with something that is uplifting. But you are allowed to drive your brain. You don't have to go where your brain wants to go. And so if you find yourself ruminating, drink the skull cap, drink the betony, drink, like whatever. But like grab control, take the reins of your brain and put an audiobook in there, put a podcast in there, put a whatever, but something that is uplifting, something that is moving you in a direction that you also want to end up in. Yeah. All
right. So...
Oh, it's funny because the next question, I was going to say, that has been one of the most important holistic strategies that we have been working on this year. And that's the next question, which is, did you implement any holistic strategies? Shifting your diet, adding in more movement, directing your brain, like whatever. Even if these things did not stick, they still represent progress, and that counts. So it is worth thinking about them, and not thinking about them like, oh yeah, I tried to Whole30 and I only got to day 18. I'm bad. I have no willpower. I can't do it. No, 18 days of data is amazing. 3 days of data is amazing. And so you can look at that and you can say, well, what do I learn from that? I learned actually that I did feel better that way, but it was hard to maintain because I didn't have the support I needed.
Yeah.
I learned that 3 days was not enough to really make any kind of decision. I learned whatever. Just because the attempt was not 100% successful the first time, like if we required that, then we would never walk. Because babies are not successful the first time they try to walk. Like it takes a really long time of trying the same thing over and over again until you get not exactly the same thing. This isn't about that quote of doing the same thing and expecting a different result. No, it's not that one. No. But like you gotta practice, you gotta refine, you gotta And
sometimes it takes a while to get where you're trying to get to, right? There's like preliminary work that you're going to do because of the thing that you're planning or you're visioning, and sometimes it takes a while, and that's okay. There's still an internal movement before the external movement shows up. Right?
And sometimes you don't know You're like, I'm just going to do this thing. And you don't realize that doing the thing requires a whole bunch of preliminary steps. And so that's what all those stutter starts actually are. They are recognizing, I tried to do the thing without doing the like setup, and I failed it. Okay, well, let me think about why that failed. Oh, I didn't have this support in place. Oh, I didn't have this structure that I needed. Oh, I didn't make time on my calendar. Oh, this and that. And then realize, oh, okay, well, I'll put that in place. Try again. Oh, also didn't work this time. Okay, well, oh, that's because I need this thing. And so even if you don't realize, oh, there's planning, there's preparation that needs to be done before I actually start the thing that I want to do, just trying it will help you realize that if you don't tell yourself you're bad. That's the really important key. If when it starts to fall apart, you immediately say, well, that didn't help me, or whatever else, and instead say, okay, I got this far. What did I learn? What do I need to shift to make this more successful next time? And just approach it with curiosity and not self-hatred and not self-punishment, then that's all I have to say.
That's what you want.
That's what you want. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I can start on this one. So for me, holistic strategy stuff that I focused on, like I said, the like structured movement class time, the like trying to make sure I'm using my degree time has been helpful. And then also a few months ago, maybe more, I don't know, I listened to this book, which is not new, but it's the book Breath by James Nestor. And I had been meaning to for a while, but I gave it a listen, and it was bringing back my attention to the breath. And I've spent, a lot of time in a lot of different ways over the years doing breathing exercises and practices like that, and breath holding, and a variety of different things. And
like breath as meditation and structured aspects of
Yeah. So this was a good read, and it like reawakened the interest, and it helped me revive my practice in different ways. Like, okay, I'm going to take a walk, and I'm going to practice a breath hold for the next 20 steps or things like that. And then also the ones where you lie down and you breathe in a specific way for X amount of time or things like that. So I found that really helpful, and it was also something that made me think like, okay, I need to do this on purpose. I need to remember what my interests are and find a book that's about them and use that as a way to spur that interest forward into a new iteration, Yeah, so I found that very helpful for me. The other thing that I came to here, which was once again kind of a return or a revival for me, was long walks. So since I went to college, I've had a habit of going out walking for like hours at a time. I lived in Paris for 4 months. I went to museums, and I went to, like fancy places and the cool churches and whatever. But like in free time, I pretty much just walked around the city, and that was fantastic. Like, there's so much to see in Paris. It's beautiful. Every neighborhood is different. I don't know. It was fantastic. So, but we live in a different place now. It's not exactly the same. It's not like right in the city.
You like to walk at night, and that's less. It's not impossible here, but it is a very different kind of experience.
And I was sort of stuck in my mind about it, right? Like, okay, we'll take a walk, we'll walk the dog, all right, but whatever. Like, get back to work, it's daytime. And this has been like something between us of being like, no, it's important in the morning to like have some physical movement and all of that before we like just jump into the computer and grind out however many hours we're going to do that day. So you've been really supportive of this for me, but we often, what we'll do is we'll take a walk together with Elsie, and then I'll kind of peel off and keep on going.
Elsie is in her senior years. She's our wonderful old lady dog now, and she can. Most days she can go about a mile. Some days maybe half a mile, and then she's like, she'll get a half a mile out, and then she's like, I gotta go home now. And so she and I will do the short walk, and there's a specific place. There's a bridge with a creek that goes under it, and there's also a heron that lives there in the summer, and it's very pretty. And so we'll get to that bridge, and then we'll have like a little minute of admiring the pretty, and then we'll chat for a few minutes, and then I'll turn around and go home with Elsie, and he'll keep going for however many more miles. And yeah, that has worked out really well. And
it stacks functions, right? It's time outdoors. You're breathing. Well, for us, it's like all the evergreen scents you could ever want, right? And it's physical movement, of course, and it's also like audiobook time, or philosophy podcast time, or herbal podcast time, right?
Yeah.
Or like herbal lecture series recorded audio time, and so that's also been helpful in that sense of like keep learning stuff. Don't just coast on what you already have.
Yeah. When we're walking together, we just talk to each other, and also we talk to Elsie, and then when we separate, then that's when you listen to a thing. And I keep talking to Elsie so that we get all the way home.
Yeah, so that's been very, very helpful for me, and I feel like it's a nice refinement to habits.
Yeah. Well, that is a big role for me too, because for me this year, more movement has been a huge thing. Really since COVID, my movement just took a complete nosedive, which I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, there was the whole epidemic of people buying Pelotons, and now like many of them are just rusting away, I hear.
Yeah. Before COVID, we walked to our physical school space, which was a 3-mile walk, and we did that almost every day, and then we walked home again, so that's like a lot of miles every day already. Plus, like, I would go kayaking, and you would go whatever, and sometimes we did various martial arts, or we would go dancing, or we would like whatever else, or we would walk somewhere else because now it's time to walk somewhere else. And so a lot of movement was really baked in. And then when COVID happened, we closed our physical space because we really didn't know like what was the timeline, what was the whatever, and financially that was like the smart thing to do, but we really didn't, I think like so many people really didn't know what was going to be on the other end of that. And so one thing that was on the end of that was, although a lot of people during the like stay at home part of COVID were baking bread and whatever, a lot of people didn't get to stay home, and they were keeping the grocery stores going or whatever else. For us, we did stay home, but also we started working like 3 times as much as we had before, because there were more students and there was more need, and there was just like so many people needed so much more education or assistance or whatever else, that that pattern started. And really, we got into a habit with that. And we got into a habit of get up in the morning and sit immediately at the desk and basically stay there till it's bedtime.
That's true.
And that isn't healthy for anyone. And it came at the cost of physical movement, which is also, that wasn't normal for either one of us. So that had a lot of health impacts. And then the other thing is that getting out of it, like once you build a habit, it's so hard to shift it. And it's especially hard to shift it when it is entwined with your work.
Yeah. And you get to the point where you're like, I'm only making barely enough money to keep everything running because I'm grinding so hard. It's easy to tell yourself that, right?
Right? Or whatever the thing is that you're saying. Like I have to keep grinding so that I can keep paying this bill or whatever. And paying the bill is real, and you and our like there is a mismatch in our society with every aspect of paying the bills. But on the other hand, like there comes a point where you can't sit there and still produce quality.
Right.
And that's true even if you have a job where you don't have a lot of choices. At some point, if you are doing physical work all day, like at some point, mistakes happen more often, accidents happen more often because you just get tired. So Yeah. So, especially, in a situation where we do have some control over our schedule, the thing that is harder to control is our emotions about our schedule. And I have been doing this level of work for so long that if I stop or if I take a break to take a walk, then I'm bad. Mm-hmm. And that might not be true for you in your job necessarily, but I think it is a very common pattern that keeps us locked in habits that are not serving us. Yeah. So really, I think for both of us, our work has been around shifting that habit of doing good work, but not doing that at the cost of our bodies. For me, that was kind of catastrophic this year, I guess, in its implementation because of starting the year off with mono. I had to sleep a lot, and I hated every second of it. It was awful, except that now I kind of look back at it, and I'm like, oh, remember when I just took naps a lot? Yeah. I don't want to have mono again, but I didn't enjoy it at the time, but in retrospect, I'm like, I see where that was helpful. And so actually the thing that I really want to say that I was able to implement this year was more movement. But more movement started off with sleeping for like the first 8 or 10 weeks of this year. And those two things were really connected. And then throughout the whole year, like working at building a habit of more movement and not quite finding exactly the right method or exactly the right time or exactly the right frequency or whatever else. And it really took me through the whole year to finally land on something that stuck or is sticking. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good to say is sticking, because if it were to stop sticking, then that's not a sign that I am a failure. That is a sign that I need to make some adjustments so that it can stick again. And so that is like a whole year journey to finally get to, okay, I think I'm finally here now, and I did not realize. And I think that has actually been the thing that was holding me in this habit to begin with, is that I was never doing the preparatory work to support. I was just like, why aren't you getting more exercise? Okay, well, because you get up and you sit at your desk and you don't get up from your desk until it's time for bed. You have to change that if you want to get some exercise. Oh, but you're averse to changing that. Well, okay, then I guess you're not going to get any exercise, are you? And so moving from that place where I was holding myself in this pattern of not being able to make a shift, and then also telling myself I was bad because I wasn't making a shift. I had to break the pattern and then slowly build up the shift. So, yeah. Thanks, mono, I guess.
And I mean, congratulations to you for being consistent about trying to be consistent. Like I'm going to consistently attempt to build consistency, and if I fail, that's okay. I'm just going to keep at it.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, right? But it is actually effective.
Yeah, and so much right now in social media, you see so much like how to be consistent in 2026. Like, I think that's all. I was going to say crap, but I don't exactly think that. And I certainly don't think it if it's helpful for you. Like, whatever is helpful for you, it doesn't matter what I think about it. If it's helpful for you, do it. But I think that there is no like single way to achieve consistency other than to keep trying to find the way to fit the thing you want into your life in a way that has the least amount of friction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. One more question for everybody. And this one is, what about your herbal education over the past year, right? So separate from I've been attracted to this herb, I've been working this strategy to improve my health, I found this way to think about and understand my health and my body and my habits. But what about education in particular? Mm-hmm. And we have some stuff to share in this regard.
Yeah.
For me, when I think about learning herbalism over the past year, the thing that sticks out the most is the book Plant Medicine, which is the work of Christopher Headley and Non Shaw, and it was edited and like put together by their I don't know if acolyte is the word, but a human named Guy Waddell.
Yeah, like a student and friend.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that book, in part because every herbalist has a different style, right? And the most of the way that Chris and Non practiced is really in line with the way that we practice and the way that we think about things. Not 100%, but very, very aligned. And especially, I think what's attracted me to that book again and again has been moments of just real clear simplicity. Just like, this doesn't have to get super complicated. You don't need the most powerful herb you can find in the entire world. Do this, work with it consistently, see what you get. That's like a recurrent theme in the way that Chris and Non write and speak about herbs, and I really jive with that a lot.
One really beautiful thing about Christopher Headley is that I am on a mailing list, a small mailing list that he was also on. It was fairly high traffic. And Christopher Headley, I mean, you might not know because maybe you're new to herbalism or maybe you just didn't ever hear this name, but this man was a giant of herbalism. Like, just the impact that Christopher Headley had on herbalism in general was enormous. And he was British, and so like, but that did not diminish his impact on American herbalism, on United States herbalism. But I just want to be clear, this guy is like, or was like, the guy, like, his entire life spent on this. And here he was, at age whatever, still submitting cases and asking for input. Hey, I have this case. I have this client. I have this whatever, and this is the situation, and this is the direction I'm going in, but I wonder if anyone is seeing something that I missed. And like, that is what an herbalist is. Like, if you think an herbalist is like a person who knows how to make tea or like whatever, no. Like, never aging out of, hey, do you have any insight here that I might have missed? Because somebody might. And like, just a completely egoless person. And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to get to know him in that way, even though we only met in person a couple of times.
Yeah.
But if I could give anyone advice about how to be a better herbalist, honestly, it would be that. It would be, don't ever stop asking for input. Don't ever think that you know so much that somebody couldn't catch something that you missed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he was just right up to the very end, always just so beautifully asking, curious. Is there something I still have to learn here? You know?
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah. And it's nice because there was like one or two books that were like published in small runs and hard to get from Chris and Non for decades, right? And not a ton of their writings just like floating around out there in the world. And so this was nice when it like finally appeared, and now there's this whole compendium, and it's just fun to kind of dip into their minds a little bit. Mm-hmm. In a similar way, there's a book put together by
Elliot Geller, and it is like a collection of teachings of Cascade Anderson Geller, who was a mentor of mine and also of Paul Bergner's at very different points in time.
Yeah.
He was like she was Paul Bergner's like first mentor, and I think maybe for me like one of my most recent mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, what a beautiful, amazing person whose practice style is actually in a lot of ways quite different than ours.
Mm-hmm.
In some way, like philosophically very similar, but praxisly often quite different. And it's really good to work with that, to see the beauty in other styles of practice than yours.
Yeah. Another thing that I've been enjoying this year is kind of a community or a subscription thing that Lisa Ganora and some cohort put together called Phyto Sapiens. This is really focused on phytochemistry. This is like every month they're going to choose a particular group of plant constituents, like sesquiterpene lactones or steroidal saponins or something like that, and really dig in and have some content about those chemicals and what they do and how they influence the way that the herbs act, key herbs that feature them and things like that, and then some research and some studies to dig in and explore a bit more. So that's been fun. If you're interested in like going beyond basic phytochemistry, like the course that we have in that regard, then this would be a great place to go in and get a little bit of like a continual drip, a continual feed of some new and exciting insights.
Yeah, if you did the basic phytochemistry course and you were like, wow, that was the most fun I've ever had, then this is your next step right here.
Yeah, really good stuff.
For me, educationally this year, it has been, let's investigate diseases we don't see anymore. Because they are, measles is making a comeback, and dengue fever is becoming more common, and diphtheria, and whooping cough, and all these diseases that kind of skipped a few generations due to high vaccination rates and other factors also. But now these are coming back. And so for me, this is an area that I really want to do a lot of work in because, it used to be very common to just see somebody with the chickenpox versus seeing somebody with the measles and just knowing which it was by the kind of outbreak it was. But do you have confidence that you would know that today? Have you ever seen somebody have measles and seen somebody have chickenpox? You might not have. It is entirely possible to be an adult in society today and to have never seen these things. And so to not have the information that you need kind of built in to be able to also know what you're looking at. There are specific signs for a lot of these diseases that make it really obvious fairly early in, oh, this is diphtheria versus this is whooping cough versus this is whatever, and because we don't get to see these diseases today very often, it's hard. It's hard to know, right? Whereas I feel like today it's much more common for people to be conversant in, oh, my one friend has EDS and my other friend has Crohn's and my other friend has rheumatoid arthritis, and to be very familiar with those different things. But we're not as familiar with these infectious diseases that used to be a part of our lives and now are not, except that now they're coming back. And so at the beginning of the year, I started with tuberculosis, and tuberculosis is all of the everything. I feel like it overwhelmed my entire year, which is pretty appropriate for tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, you can't herb your way out of that. Herbs can help manage, but tuberculosis killed like 30% of all people until, honestly, pretty recently, like in the 1900s. So it was like everybody knew people with tuberculosis. Everybody knew people who died of tuberculosis because it was so common. And you maybe have never thought about tuberculosis in your whole life because now it is not common, except that now it is happening again.
Coming around again, yeah.
And I also need to be clear that it is not common in the United States and it is not common in Western Europe, but it is still extremely common in Africa. And that is something that we could fix, but we choose not to.
Yeah. This is basically the thesis of this book, Everything is Tuberculosis, from John Green.
Yeah.
Which is essentially like the reason that everything is tuberculosis or is like tuberculosis is that we could actually solve that problem worldwide. We know how, we know what to do, we know what it would take, but the will and political capital to get it done is lacking.
Like the money exists. It's not that we can't afford it. It's just that we don't choose to allocate the money in those places, and racism absolutely does play a role in that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and of course this is only exacerbated, with the destruction of USAID and other related actions and so on. So this is why it's kind of on the mind.
Right? Yeah. And also because there have in the past couple of years there are growing outbreaks happening across the country. And one of the most important mechanisms for controlling tuberculosis is contact tracing. And of course the people didn't like that very much during COVID. And so, and also with changes in the CDC and other administrative faculties, and also healthcare changes, like rural hospitals are underfunded and closing and whatever else. And so kind of the infrastructure for doing that tracing and also the like will to do it are both kind of crumbling. And so the tuberculosis outbreaks right now are alarming, but small. But they're increasing steadily. And so it is definitely something that we need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
So my favorite books on this was, like you said, Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, a book called The Remedy, and I cannot remember the author's name.
Goetze?
Oh, that's right, Thomas Goetz. Yeah, Goetz.
Yeah.
And that book is super fun because you might not know that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes, played a pivotal role in the discovery of managing tuberculosis, like in that whole story of coming up with a cure and a management plan for tuberculosis. Like the dude who wrote Sherlock Holmes basically Sherlock Holmes'd like his way into the story of developing that.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's wicked cool. The third book, I also can't remember the author. The book is called Black Angels, and the subtitle is like the untold story of the Black nurses who cured tuberculosis. That isn't quite right. But don't worry, because Rin will put a link to it in the show notes. Wow. Anybody who wants to be an herbalist should read this book, even if you're not obsessed with tuberculosis like I am. Because there is so much information about nursing and convalescence and mechanisms of long-term care for a chronic disease. And also, like, if that wasn't enough, it is the story of Black nurses who are working in a hospital in New York City, who were working there because white nurses didn't want to, because, if you work in a tuberculosis hospital, you'll get tuberculosis, right? But these nurses were extremely well educated. Some of the best trained in managing tuberculosis, and ended up being absolutely crucial, again, in finding the cure and management techniques that ultimately were successful. And in order to get to that point, they also were crucial in many attempts before that all the clinical trials before that of trying the different things that they tried until they actually got to the thing that worked.
It's an important story, even if just to ingrain into you this understanding that like our capacity to develop a cure for an illness, a disease, an infectious illness like this in particular, it's not just a matter of like we create the right molecule and now suddenly we're done. Yeah. Right? Like we have to get that to people, we have to figure out what's the right dose, what's the right regimen, what supportive work is going to be required for that to work most effectively. Like there's a ton of extra elements involved. And the people who are on the ground day to day actually delivering these things to people are where that development is going to take place.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to see all the things we tried before we got to the thing that worked, and some of them are kind of horrifying. But it's also fascinating in, I guess, kind of a morbid way to see how extreme this disease is by looking at how extreme their attempts to manage it were. And then to realize that like this disease impacted every single person's life. And I have never known somebody with tuberculosis. Okay, again, like that is not a mechanism of my age. It is a mechanism of my privilege, because there are plenty of people today in other countries who do know people who actively have tuberculosis and are suffering. But like it is like we don't see it, except that it is now starting to come back. So yes, it is true, herbs cannot cure tuberculosis, but herbs can assist in the management process. And so I want to have a solid plan of what would I do? How would I be an assistant to, obviously, if you get tuberculosis, please go to the hospital, let them know, and then do the treatment that they have, which is uncomfortable, it is long, it is grueling, it is hard, and that is a place where we can provide support as herbalists to make that regimen more manageable, much like how we can help somebody in chemotherapy to better survive through that process. I just feel so fascinated about this, and the things that I learned drive that fascination even deeper.
Yeah. I don't want to be repetitive, but I do want to emphasize that again, that the interest in this isn't, I'm going to find the herbal cure for tuberculosis, right?
It is not there.
The lost secret of the people who were whatever. Like, that's not what we're aiming at. We want to understand the problem. We want to understand our place in a team, that's going to work on this effectively. Mm-hmm. And that's so frequently the approach we're going to be taking to herbalism, whether it's cancer or something like this or whatever else comes around.
And also because this is such a clear case that there was never a cure. There was never a natural way to manage this disease. It has always been one of the biggest causes of death for humans.
Yeah. And one of the elements here is simply that it's just like a very slow-moving, slow-developing problem. And also, sometimes people will have like an acute phase of it, and then they'll basically recover and be fine. And so that is a set of conditions where it's very easy for somebody to be like, well, I've cured tuberculosis right and left, and I just ignore the cases where it didn't work out, and we don't talk about those, right?
Yeah.
So that makes it tough.
But I think it's really good to get like knee deep in an understanding of a disease that we never succeeded with naturally, right? Because it is very trendy to have this sort of binary where it's like, oh no, I only manage things naturally. Or you could be on the other side, oh, I only trust conventional medicine or whatever. And the reality is that that's not actually practical. There are some things that cannot be managed naturally, or they can maybe be managed, but like there's no way to manage tuberculosis well. You're still going to die a terrible, terrible death. Okay.
And I mean, and anyway, that framework is like false from the get-go. Like, there's nobody out there who's like, yeah, I only consume caffeine in the form of tablets. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's some kind
Maybe
of
there's-
Silicon Valley hacker who's like, I only consume Soylent packets and whatever, and they don't actually eat any, you know, vegetables. But
Probably there is that person somewhere. Yeah.
but that's crazy talk. Come on.
Yeah. But the reality is that just really seeing a case where all of human history was really dominated by this disease, and nothing was able to stop it until a point at which something was able to stop it. And all of the people who had to, so many people who had to go into that process of finding the thing that worked, and all of the attempts and all of the everything, and really recognizing how challenging this is, and also that we do not have to have the answer to everything. We just have to play our part, even with stuff that does require conventional medicine, pharmaceutical medicine, whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't lock us out. That doesn't mean we don't have a role to play, or that we're somehow the losers in that particular aspect because we're the natural ones or whatever. No, there isn't a winner or a loser here. There is, how do we support the people in our community who need our support? And if it's a person with tuberculosis, that support is going to be from all sides, or it needs to be from all sides. And so our question is, how do we best serve this person with the tools that we have, while they are also, you know, using whatever other tools are available to them to ultimately kill that thing? Yeah.
We're gonna. All right. So again, the question at hand here was, what about your herbal education over the year 2025? And so these are some of the things we've been thinking about and finding ways to incorporate into what we do. So even if you were thinking about that question, like, what have I learned herbally, you know, over this year? Maybe your first reaction was like, oh no, I didn't study as much as I meant to. Don't get hooked on that, right?
Yeah.
First off, I bet you probably did more than you think, you know, and if we could like tally it up for you, you'd be kind of impressed. But also, like, when we're learning something, especially something new, we can discount how much we've learned so far. Because the more you learn, the more you recognize what there remains to be learned, and you can be like, I'm not making any progress. I'm Zeno Zero. Like, what's going on? And there's always more to do. That's true, but that's good news, not bad news.
Yeah. It does not take away from everything that you've already done. And it's important, even if there's like still a mountain of things that you could explore, you don't have to. But also, yay, you won't get bored. But regardless, it is so important to like stop staring at the mountain of stuff you didn't learn yet and take a little while to be like, hey, look at the stuff that actually I feel pretty confident in right now. And I get that this is not everywhere. This is not the whole thing that I want to learn. Like, yeah, I understand that. But for right now, I just want to feel really excited because look at all this stuff. These are places I feel confident that I didn't feel confident in the year before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, give yourself some time to think over this past year. Maybe even grab your journal, do some writing. It is worth it. It's worth the time. It's important. It's important to just celebrate that, and also to recognize, like, I have done something. Maybe I haven't done everything that I want yet, but I've done something.
I have begun to eat the elephant.
The whale, the whatever.
You know that one, right? Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Cool. So, yeah, appreciate the progress you've made. We will celebrate with you. We'll do it right now.
Especially if you log into our student community, and you'll see a post there about your herbal year in review, and pop a comment in there, share it, let everybody else celebrate what you've done. And also, it's just nice to sort of publicly be like, look, these are the things that I actually did do this year, and I feel great about that. Yeah.
So if somehow you've listened to our nearly 2-hour podcast and you're not part of the student community already, then like, come on, you really should be.
Yeah, you're going to like it.
These are people like you.
Yeah.
These are people who are into stuff that you're going to be intrigued by and want to hang out with and chat to. So get on in there.
Yeah.
How do you do it? You take any of the courses that we offer. Any of the free ones, any of the short courses, the entire extended family community clinical herbalist program set? Sure, why not?
Yes.
All of that gets you access to twice weekly live Q&A sessions with us, the student community, the discussion threads in every single lesson of every course where you can just pop your question right in there.
Like right while you're watching a video or doing an exercise or whatever,
Yep.
you can just be typing in questions. We answer them every day.
Mm-hmm. You get lifetime access to the course material. When we add stuff to that course later, which we always do, you get that for free, automatically. Courses have study guides, there's quizzes and tests, there's capstone assignments that we review personally for you.
And then we email you back and forth and say like, this is where you're really strong, and here are some places where you can strengthen your, skill in this or that or the other thing, and let's talk about it, and let's email back and forth. And yeah. And then at the end of all the big programs, we have like a video meeting with you and talk about like where your strengths are, how do we get you more support for the places where you need it, like all that kind of stuff. Basically, it's super fun. And if you're still listening right now, you should go on over to online.commonwealthherbs.com, especially if it is not yet 2026, then get in on the 20% off sale. The code is calendula. You don't really need me to tell you that because it's on a big banner on the top of the webpage, online.commonwealthherbs.com. And grab anything you want. Grab everything you want. You can use that code over and over again. Unfortunately, it doesn't let you stack up a ton of stuff in your cart and buy it all at one time. You got to do them individually. I don't really know why. But whatever. You can use the coupon code every single time. It won't time out on you.
Yes. And if you would like to give a belated gift, or maybe it's an on-time gift, because look, sometimes people are born on December 31st, it's allowed, then you can give your friends our courses as well. There's an option for buying it as a gift.
Yeah, you just check the box that says this is a gift, and then things will pop up for you to put in their email address and your gift message and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Whew. This was a long one. Thanks for sticking with us if you're still here. And we love you. That's what.
Yeah.
We do. We hope you have a good year. We'll be with you. We'll be doing Holistic Herbalism podcasts all the way along.
I'm pretty excited because I feel like I have like a queue built up of a bunch of really good pods for January, and I think there's so many that it'll probably go into February, but I'm quite excited.
The one on AI is coming soon.
Yeah.
We have some thoughts.
Yeah, we have some thoughts.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll have to do the top 10 herbs I can't live without in 2026. That one's going to be fun. And then there was a student wrote something really interesting in the community about realizing that like, am I a hypochondriac, or do I just need to rebuild my whole body? And the whole question was so good. Like, and the thought process behind it was so good. I was like, ooh, this needs to be a podcast. So there's that one coming up too. Yeah,
it's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
All else being equal.
It's going to be a really great year for herbalism.
That's what.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That's it for this one. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Drink some tea. And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.